Hello, welcome to another episode of We Don't Talk About Uno podcast, the podcast about Disney Lorcana. My name is Simeon and I'm here with my beautiful co-host, the Hakuna to my Matata. It's David.
That was a wonderful phrase, Simeon, to introduce me. Thank you.
It is such a wonderful phrase. You know, so the other day I was talking about Hakuna Matata with the child and I realised that I was brought up in Spain. I only know the Hakuna Matata song in Spanish. I don't know what it is in English.
But does maybe I'm being culturally insensitive here, but does the Hakuna Matata song mean no worries for the rest of your days in Spanish? Because I feel like that's just a general life philosophy for people.
It means ningún problema debe hacerte sufrir is what it means.
Okay, I didn't follow that.
Lo más fácil es saber vivir.
Yeah.
Or saber, I don't even know. Maybe it's been a while. It's been 20 years since I've lived in Spain. Anyway, how are we doing?
I'm all right. I could do with a problem-free philosophy right now. That sounds pretty nice. So,
well,
yeah.
I haven't got that. I have got some...
You just Hakuna Mata'd me. So
well, yeah. But I've also got some problems for you to solve.
Nice,
today,
let's go.
On the podcast, we are solving some problems about evaluating new cards.
Oh, problems, yeah.
There are new cards, and we're going to talk about a few of them, or the ones that we think are interesting. There are new products. We're going to be talking about the new products that are coming out later this year. And the child will be making an appearance and talking to us about rules lawyering. And... we will then be discussing the main topic for today's podcast is really talking about the principles of multiplayer. I think a lot of people have played a lot of Lorcana 2-player, and maybe they've played at a game store, maybe they've played at a tournament, and now are thinking, well, what else can we do before the next set arrives? And I'd really suggest giving multiplayer Lorcana a go.
Yeah, sounds good.
Brilliant. So let's get to it. There's new products. Can you tell us a little bit about them?
Yeah, I can. So we were thinking about like our content plan for season 2, and we had all these nice plans to talk about the cards in chapter 1, the first chapter, and events are already overtaken us because it's not called the second chapter, but the second set, The Rise of the Floodborn, is out already. Or not out already, but it's been started to be spoiled already.
Yep.
So we wanted to keep up with the times and talk about that. Although I hope we can make a episode about the cards in the first chapter too.
We'll get there.
So yeah, I'm excited about it. They've spoiled I think 12 cards so far, or maybe a bit more than that. And then they've also revealed that there's going to be a gift set. Like there was a gift set for the first chapter, there'll be a gift set for The Rise of the Floodborn, but it'll be focused on Disney's 100th anniversary, and all of the cards in this gift set, I think there's 6, they'll be enchanted. So it's really exciting. I want the gift set. I'm a collector as much as a player. I really want the gift set.
That's I think it's important to not just realise that I'm a player and I just want to play. But yeah, a lot of people are going to be looking at what's exciting here, and they're going to be looking at the gift set and going, that looks incredible. So the gift set, the cards that are featured it's a lot like the Gen Con thing we saw, where it's a box with special cards in, and it's in a nice display box. So if you never took it out of the box, you'll be able to see them all beautifully.
I've never taken it out of the box. I'll hang it on my wall, maybe.
Okay. If I get one, rip it open straight away.
I think they're going to be tricky to get hold of. I think.
I should imagine
even trickier than first chapter products.
Yeah, anything that's been branded Disney 100 seems to have been limited edition. And it seems to be collector stuff. So I don't think, there are some up for pre-order for ridiculous prices. I don't think they're going to be that expensive to get hold of.
It's meant to be $50, I think.
Yeah, I think it'll be either $50 to $100, something like that.
But it's the kind of thing also that will bring in new players or bring people who don't necessarily think about TCGs, but are into Disney. They might come across it and think, I want that Disney 100 thing.
Yeah, they might not want to play a trading card game.
Or it might be their first Lorcana thing, and then they end up, going down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. And we've also seen a lot with other trading card games where they make these presentation boxes just for collectors, and that's a really fun thing. Okay, should we talk about the new cards in the new
Some
set?
of them, I think we're going to just talk about 4 of our favourites. And can I start with one of mine?
You can start with one of yours.
Love this card for the art. I think it's my favourite Lorcana art so far. And I've seen some discussions online. I think I'm not the only one. It's Winnie the Pooh, and it's a dream-born Winnie the Pooh. So it's a reimagining of Winnie the Pooh that we've not seen in any of the movies yet. And it's called Winnie the Pooh Honey Wizard I'd encourage people to go and look up the art. He's sitting on a beehive with dripping honey everywhere, wearing a sorcerer's cloak. It's a amethyst card. He's got 5 willpower and 5 strength, is it?
Yep. And it's 5 cost ink to play.
5 ink to play, and you can exert it for 2 lore.
Yeah.
It's what we call a vanilla card, so it doesn't have any other abilities. It's a common rarity, so it'll be really easy to get one of these cards. They won't be much to buy if you buy it as a single. They'll be in lots of the booster packs. If you buy a booster pack, you're quite likely to get one. I'm hoping that there'll be some kind of synergies with other sorcerers. I am starting to lean into Amethyst more and more. I've got Mickey Mouse Wayward Sorcerer, so I'm hoping Winnie the Pooh will work well with that. If there's some kind of cards in the future that make sorcerers like each other and like working together in Amethyst decks. It seems to be an Amethyst thing to have sorcerers. So.
And yeah, that's one of those things, isn't it? When you see cards in sets that are the same type of cards, so they're sorcerers, and the same colour, sometimes you look at that and you go, well, it would be logical for them to, at some point in the future, either in this set or in a future set, print a card that is a payoff for having lots of these sorcerers in your deck. And that's, while it is vanilla, I get that. A 5/5 for 5 ink.
That taps for 2. It's a threat. It's a threat.
I mean, it's a fine thing to play in that slot.
It's a fine thing to play, and you're putting it down, and someone's got to deal with it. And something with 5 willpower is hard to deal with. There's not much removal that can take that out. The Dragonfire could get rid of it, but not much else would get rid of it with one card. And thankfully, it's not just the card; it's also a playmat, which I think they're going to be. They might even be harder to get hold of than the Disney 100 gift set, because I think they'll be really popular. So I'm going to get my pre-order in for that playmat soon, because I'm kind of sad that I ordered the first chapter playmat, because I'm like, they're not going to see any play. I'm just going to keep them rolled up in their boxes, because this is going to be my playmat.
Amazing. Yeah, that art is incredible. Good job, John Lauren. It's looking amazing.
Loving it.
Okay,
you, yeah.
The first card I wanted to talk about is a 5-cost non-inkable emerald card. It's emerald green.
Emerald is green, Simeon.
Emerald is green, I'm learning. Great. Yeah. Okay, so a 5-cost non-inkable emerald card, but for 5 cost ink, you only get a 3/3, so they better be good.
That doesn't seem very good, Simeon.
Oh, no, it's rubbish. No, let's just go on. No, okay, this is Belle, the Hidden Archer, a green take on Belle. She has Shift 3, so you may pay 3 to play her on top of one of your other characters named Belle. And the ability here, Thorny Arrows. When this character is challenged, the challenging character's player... Sorry, that's a weird way of wording it, but sure. When this character is challenged, the challenging character's player discards all the cards in their hand.
All the cards.
Every single one.
Every single one. That is absolutely brutal.
But it's also a bit of...
Did you say how much lore she...
Well, this is it. So it's a little bit of... I don't even know what to call it. It's a little bit of a trap in that, because she also exerts for 3 lore. So you play her one turn, the following turn cycle, you turn her sideways, make 3 lore, and say, you don't want me to do that again? You're going to have to discard
I remember in episodes before launch, we were like, what's the difference between 1, 2, and 3 lore? Whereas now I've played the game, it's like, if there's a card that exerts for 3 lore on the board, you've got to deal with that right away. You can't leave it there.
Yeah, so I love this card. It looks great. I definitely want to build some kind of tricksy emerald deck. I was just playing against you, and you had some tricksy emerald cards in your deck, and it was just made me want to go, you know what, I really want to build that. So I think that could really be the future of a really tricksy, look, I'm not doing a lot, but you're going to have a trouble dealing with it kind of deck. It does, however, there is a bit of a worry built in there. We've already seen cards that's rule text cares about you having an empty hand. So there's the mirror that lets you draw
Beast
a card
mirror,
if you have no cards.
Yeah.
this is another card that is going to leave people empty-handed. There's also spoiled. I don't really want to talk about the cards that much, but Tiana has been spoiled, and that ability also cares about you not having any cards in hand. And it really makes me think, when I'm playing a card game, I don't like not having any cards in my hand. I'm playing a card game because I like drawing cards off my deck and playing my cards and having lots of cards in front of me. And I'm playing with cards because I like cards. So it does worry me that the game designers obviously see no cards in hand as a kind of status in the game that is going to happen relatively often.
Yep, that's interesting. And it does happen relatively often.
And it does
if you
happen
go on
relatively
any
often.
forum or discussion place related to a Lorcana, I would say a significant percentage of the posts are about, this is how I deal with or how can we deal with the running out of cards issue? Because a lot of people are running out of cards when they play.
Yeah, and I would say that from a gameplay point of view, it's not currently strategically problematic. I think currently it's an interesting problem for us to solve, and that's an interesting little puzzle box for us as a community to really look at and go, oh, how could we as a community solve this?
Yeah.
However, I would say, to me, I don't find that fun. I don't find not having cards or having 1 or 2 cards a turn, I don't find that fun. I would think I would be having more fun if my card was flooded with hands, like happens with
Then put Stitch Rockstar into your deck.
Oh yeah, there are definitely decks I can play. There are decks I can play that solve this, and there's lots of ways I can solve this. In next episode, we're going to be talking about lots of tactics, and card draw is going to be one of the things we talk about. But at the moment, if game designers see that as a feature rather than a bug, I'm a little concerned.
Did you mention the shift cost on this card? It's shift for 3.
It's shift for 3, yes, I did.
So if you've got a bell already out, you could bring this out on turn 3, and you could exert it on turn 3. That's
for 3. Yeah.
That's for 3. Yeah, so it could, or in potentially turn 2. I don't know. I don't think you could get on turn 2 with the current what we call ramp cards. I don't think you can get 3 ink on turn 2 at the minute.
Well, also, you would have had to have played a bell on your turn 1 to be able to.
Which then, theoretically, there could be a 1-cost bell.
Oh, yeah, no, that's great.
No,
but you're not doing that and ramping.
And ramping and bringing this out. Okay, that's a good point. This can come out on turn 3.
Probably could come out on turn 2. Okay, what's your next card, David?
One more comment on Bell and Archer. And this was something that someone said in one of the online forums. I read so many of them, I can't remember which. And thinking about what Floodborn means. So we know that Storyborn means inspired by a story. Dreamborn means a reimagining of the character. So this person's take was, and they use this card as an example, and I think it's probably the clearest example, but if we look at other Floodborn cards, we might be able to think about it in other ways. Floodborn's when kind of 2 characters come together or more. So this is like Belle and Robin Hood. That was their theory.
Okay, it's an interesting theory. I can tell you exactly what Floodborn is, though.
Okay.
It means that they're going up. It's the set name, Rise of the Floodborn. Okay, sorry.
Floods do rise.
They do.
We've got another Floodborn character for my next character. Okay. And again, this could be seen as 2 characters coming together.
It could.
Cinderella Stout-Hearted. It's a 7-cost Inkable.
I love a stout.
You love a stout beer.
Sorry, it's a 7-cost Inkable.
And it's got 5 strength and 5 willpower. Floodborn Hero Princess Knight are the types, lots of types. And it's shift 5. So if you've got Cinderella card out already, you can play it for 5 rather than 7. So, and if you exert it for lore, you get 3 lore. So already it's a nice card, but is that really worth 7? Maybe not. I guess it'd be quite a good vanilla card if it was 7, but then it's got a couple of extra abilities. So one is the new keyword that's coming out in Rise of the Floodborn, and as far as we're aware, this is the only new keyword. So keywords are things like evasive that explain an ability that a character has. So evasive characters, for example, can only be challenged by other evasive characters. Okay. So this is along those lines. Shift is also a keyword. This keyword is resist, and resist reduces the damage dealt to a character in challenges or in other contexts by the look of it. So the resist plus 2. So damage dealt to this character is reduced by 2. So that means that Cinderella can challenge a lot of characters and not take much damage back. So
Yeah. It also means that a lot of removal is just, that I'm currently using, is just useless.
because a lot of removal is 2 damage or 3 damage.
Yeah. I fire the cannons. What does that do? Nothing. Deal 2 damage. Nothing.
Bounces off Cinderella's armor.
Yeah. It just.
I mean, she is wearing a good suit of armor there, so maybe that explains it. I don't know if that would hold back a cannonball.
Yeah, we
but
should
clearly
say
it does.
We should say this is art from Grace Tran, and the reason that you said it looks like 2 characters together is that this is very obviously Cinderella. However, Cinderella appears to be wearing Prince Eric's armor.
Yeah, or the other prince. I can't remember the other prince.
Oh yeah, it could be the other. Oh
The
yeah,
other
no,
prince
not
is more
Eric.
wearing. Eric,
what's the other
Eric
one?
doesn't really wear armor.
No, not that one.
Is it Prince Philip?
Isn't.
Is that a real prince in real
I
life?
think that's a. I don't know. Well, yeah, okay, a prince. Yeah, look at the card.
She's wearing one of the. There's a prince in the first chapter, and she looks like she's wearing that prince's armor.
Yes,
Anyway,
yeah.
her other ability is when you play a song. So this goes well on the song deck as well. This character may challenge ready characters this turn. So that's also a really interesting direction of travel. Mm-hmm. Not just a song. I'm not necessarily talking about the when you play a song things. We've had that kind of thing. It's challenging ready characters and the ability to do that. So so far when you play Lorcana, if someone's about to win, so if on the next turn they can get to 20 lore and they haven't exerted their characters, there's not a whole lot. There's some things you can do about it,
You
but
can
not a whole lot.
Dragonfire, and you can do a
there are
Boardwife,
some,
but there's not a lot you can do.
It's a tricky situation to be in. This gives you more options in that situation to deal with the ready characters, and it means that ready characters are less invincible. So I find it a really interesting card, and I think it's going to be, it costs 7, but I think it's going to be quite a powerhouse of a card, actually.
Yeah. So there's a couple of points on that. Firstly, it says whenever you play a song. So it doesn't say that it has to be sung. Because I think that a lot of people were reading this, and I was reading I think it was on a Facebook post, I was reading the people going, oh, but you've got to have another character out to exert that character to sing a song. And then once that song's out, you can then challenge ready characters. And also, Cinderella has to be, the ink has to have dried. You can't just do that because, that doesn't negate the need for ink drying. But actually, it's when you play a song, so you can just literally pay ink for the song. You don't have to have that many cards or that much set up. It does seem a little bit like they're building archetypes, and some of these archetypes they're putting in these little signposts saying, hey, you might want to do this. The singing deck.
What do you mean by archetypes then, Simeon? Because that's an interesting
so the
concept.
song deck is probably going to be a lot of the songs so far that we've seen are some form of removal or interaction. So they're not necessarily...
Especially in steel, which Cinderella is steel.
Yeah. So it looks like that we could have a song deck with a lot of interaction, and Cinderella fits right in there.
And there's some really powerful characters that support that.
Here's the top end of your...
there's some really nice songs in steel, aren't there? So this is Whole New World, probably the best song. Be Prepared, that's a really good one as well.
Mm-hmm. And here's the top end for your amber. No, not amber. They know for your whichever steel deck. It looks great, and I'm hoping we see, for new players, I'm hoping we see a lot more of this kind of signpost cards going. Here's what you do with this card.
Well, it's a bit like Maurice
successful.
in set 1 is an items card, but there's so far people haven't really found a good way to do an items deck. But I think as we get more and more items, Maurice is just going to become a powerhouse.
David, was that a segue?
It could have been. It was a genius segue, clearly, Simeon.
That's incredible. Oh, my goodness. Have I got an item to talk about? I'd like to talk about an item card that's come out.
Tell me about this item, Simeon.
Okay, so the card I want to talk about is 3 cost and not inkable. And I don't necessarily think it's the best card, but it's interesting. It is an amethyst card. Mm-hmm. That means purple. I'm learning. And it's the Sorcerer's Spell Book. It's an item. We were talking before about seeing a lot of sorcerers in amethyst. Well, here's their spell book. This has the ability Knowledge, exert it, and pay 1 ink, gain 1 lore. Now, the difficulty we've seen so far with the items deck is that you can do an awful lot and just spin your wheels. So in the items deck with Maurice that you mentioned, and a lot of the blue items already, Those Sapphire items, you can play a lot of items and draw more cards and play more items.
And heal your characters.
But really a lot of what you're doing currently is just spinning your wheels. You're taking a lot of game
By
actions.
spinning your wheels, you're not progressing towards the goal of 20 lore.
Exactly. You're doing a lot of game actions, and you might be having a great time. Hey, if this is what you want to do in life, enjoy. However, you're not necessarily progressing the game any further. So to me, this is an indication that in the future there could be items decks that actually get you there. Now, do I think that 4 ink for your first 1 lore is something that you want to be investing in right now? I'm not sure. I don't necessarily think that's the case. 5 ink for 2 lore, 6 ink for 3 lore. Okay, we're starting to get there, especially as currently items are relatively difficult to remove.
Yeah, it's going to stick around.
So for that kind of spinny wheels item deck, here's something that could fit in there as now you've played all of these items and drawn more items and played more items, here's what you're actually doing with them. To me, again, it's one of those. It's a little nod to there could be a really good item deck here eventually.
I also like it because I like cards that break the rules or break what we know about the game, and it breaks the game a little bit. It gives another way of getting lore. So again, it's a signpost to future directions that cards other than characters can gain lore.
Yeah, that's kind of it's important to see the game as well as providing different archetypes and different types of cards, but they're also expanding on the types of thing you can do as well.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's the news. That's the 4 cards we wanted to look at. There are lots more cards spoiled, so if you're interested in the Rise of the Floodborn, go have a look.
Yeah,
the other playmats have been spoiled. The card deck boxes have been spoiled as well. So
and definitely have a look at that Disney 100. That's got cards from both the first set.
Don't just ignore that. Just let me buy it, please.
It's got cards from both the first set and the second set in it. Okay, I had a little problem this week.
Go on.
I had a problem with the child.
Oh my goodness.
I've talked to him about it. Do you wanna have a listen?
Yeah, let's have a listen.
It's only the child.
Hello.
How are you doing today, child?
Good.
Well, I don't know if you're going to still be good, because I've got a beef with you.
Really?
Well, the other day, we were playing Lorcana, as we like to do,
Yes.
and I played a card called Rapunzel. And you tried to rules lawyer me.
Oh.
Well, okay, so for our audience, if you don't know what rules lawyering is, it's when you try and make a case for something that's probably not the rules. But hey, it's in your favour, so you're just going to try and make a case for it anyway. So, Ezra, do you want to read what the rule text on Red Rapunzel does?
Tangle. When you play this character, each opponent loses 1 lore.
That is the text. And what did you think that meant?
Like, each opponent. And when I'm playing against you, you're my opponent.
I'm playing the card. I'm not my own opponent.
Well, you're my opponent.
So I am an opponent.
Yeah, you are a opponent. And it says each opponent.
Okay. So did you actually think that was the rules, or were you just trying it on because you thought, well, I can get Dad here?
Joking.
You're joking. Oh, good. I'm glad you were joking. Have you ever been at a game store? Did anybody, when you've played at game stores, try and rules lawyer you and convince you of something that wasn't real?
No.
That's really good. I think less of it's happening, but I've definitely had it in stores where people are like, no, that means this. So, message for today. Don't be rules lawyers, people. All right, bye.
Bye.
That was pretty funny. And we just played a game, a 3-player game with a child, and the same thing happened.
Oh, he's like that. He's like, oh, it's a funny little
I think
thing.
It's true. I play the card that does things for opponents, but I am his opponent, so I couldn't really argue.
Oh, he's a funny guy. Yeah, have you ever been rules lawyered in a game shop?
See, I have a different interpretation of rules lawyering to you.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So to me, if I'm playing a game and like I do a thing and then I'm like, oh no, that's not the most advantageous sequence of events that I can do things, I might ask my opponent, I'd ask you this a lot if we're playing a trading card game, can I take that back?
Yeah.
And to me, rules law, or there might be like something else that happens that's not strictly within the laws of the game.
Yeah.
And rules lawyering to me is, no, you can't. That's happened. We're moving on. So it's like someone who's just really strict on making sure you stick to the rules. And then if there's a really intricate rule that's to their advantage that I don't know, they'll make sure they come up with it. So
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So that's how I understood the term rules lawyering before I had that discussion with a child. But I think both work.
Yeah. Anyway, it was a bit funny. I've definitely been in game stores. And I will say, I've been hanging around game stores for probably around a decade now. And yeah, it's definitely getting better. I'm definitely getting treated less like a noob every time I go.
In terms of your own interpretation, you did a fun rules lawyering with us in a multiplayer game of Magic the Gathering recently where you discovered a combo that actually doesn't exist.
Oh, yeah, totally. But that wasn't rules lawyering.
It was funny because
that was me not knowing how the game works. Oh, there's so many things like that. They're just so complicated. And especially with Magic, I'm just learning more and more to when people say, oh, how does this work? To just hold up my hands and go, I have no idea. We did a draft probably 6 weeks ago now, just between mates, and there was some interaction with Mutate, which is kind of like the Magic version of Shift in Lorcana, and people just turned to me. It was just amongst friends, so I was probably one of the most experienced player there. And people turned to me like, "Oh, how does this work?" And I'm like, "I'm not going to pretend I know." Like, I'm not sure. I think it's this, but it could not be. And that massively advantages one of you and doesn't, and disadvantages the other one. So I don't know if I want to say that. Yeah, sometimes it's best to just go, I don't know, look it up. Or toss a coin. Especially, amongst friends, toss a coin. It doesn't matter.
Or Google it quickly. It's a nice segue into our next section, though, because Magic is something we play multiplayer.
Yes.
And we wanted to talk about multiplayer Lorcana today.
David, you did 2 segues in one episode.
This was your segue. This was your accidental segue.
I'm so proud of us. We could do this. We could be podcasters.
Just for one day. Right. That's not a Disney song, though, is it? Multiplayer Lorcana. What would you like to say?
What would I like to say?
About multiplayer Lorcana?
There's a few points. I'm gonna start with the basics. As I said,
sorry, I was just removing my hoodie, and I didn't want the zip to go in the microphone. So.
David just comically ran. It wasn't a normal run because there's less than 2 meters to the edge of the room. Just did a comic run to the edge of the room, unzipped his hoodie, noisily. You probably heard that, and then ran back to the microphone. We can just pause. We can just edit. It's fine. Now we're not going to, but we could have edited that.
Thank you.
Okay. Sorry. Back to
Podcast
serious.
Is a sound-based format.
Serious children's card games.
Background sounds are important. Yeah, go on. Serious family card games. Yes.
Yes. So I think a lot of people will have now played a lot of games of Lorcana, and for most people, a lot of those games will have been 2-player. And maybe they're feeling like, you know what, I've really explored the cards I have now. There's loads of decks I'd like to build, but at the moment I don't have neither the money nor the ability to get hold of a ton more cardboard. So I've kind of explored everything I can with the cardboard that I own. Yeah. But multiplayer is something that totally changes the game. It feels very different. There's new challenges and also a lot of things that kind of change. The first thing I wanted to talk about is that sometimes the maths changes. So because some cards, as the child just told us, some cards say each opponent, then the maths changes on that. So at the moment, Red Aladdin, that when you play it, each opponent loses 1 law.
That's when you challenge.
Oh, it's when
you play out. I think it's just when you challenge. Yeah.
You know what? We're going to find out.
It is when you challenge, but it often happens when you play it because it has shifts, so it can do it right away.
3 cost, Red Aladdin. Improvise. When you play this character, each opponent loses 1 law.
That's not the Aladdin I was talking about.
You're talking about Big Aladdin.
Big Aladdin.
Oh, yeah, no, we don't talk about Big Aladdin. Sorry. So yeah.
So,
So
yeah, we were. Can we both take that one? We were both right.
Big Aladdin is shift 5. During your turn, whenever this character banishes another character in a
it's not even
challenge,
challenges, it's
you gain
banishes.
lore, and
Yeah.
each opponent loses 2 lore. Both of these are good examples of this. So back to what I was saying, the maths changes. If with Big Aladdin, each opponent is losing 2 lore. If you've got one opponent, you're up 2 lore. They're down 2 lore. If you've got 3 opponents, you're up 2 lore. They're down 6 lore. That's an 8 lore swing.
Wow, that's really nice.
That's pretty good.
Which is what just happened. So we just played a multiplayer game,
We played a multiplayer game before this podcast.
and the other day you and I were hanging out in the pub having a drink, and I asked you to help me choose some green cards to put in my deck. And
Yeah,
there
we were
was
hanging
one-
out in a health food shop, having a juice. Yes.
Okay. Anyway, we were having a drink and looking at Lorcana cards, and I was saying, what green card should I put in this deck? And one that I was looking at was Steal from the Witch. I was like, oh, I don't like that. It's not inkable. It's quite context specific. It costs 5.
Yeah.
And it's an action. It only happens once. And when you play it, then when you quest with one of your characters, each time you quest, each opponent loses a lore. That seemed pretty meh to me, especially as so we were looking at red and green at that time. And when I played red green, I normally only have 1 or 2 characters out. It just seems to be the way it goes. So I was like, it doesn't seem too much. But you were like, no, that's a good card. You should keep it in. So I kept it in. Then in my lunch break today, I rebuilt the deck as Emerald Amethyst, so green, purple.
And you kept it in. Thank you.
And I kept it in.
Thank you.
And I only got 1 of those cards, so that was the only one in the deck. It showed up. And I had 4 characters out at the time that were able to quest.
Yep.
So that meant, you said the 8 lore swing, because we were playing with Child. I quested with all 4 of my characters, and you both lost 4 lore each.
And you gained the 5 lore from
I gained
questing
5
as well.
from questing, yeah. And that turned the game around, because before that, you two were way ahead of me. You were both about to win. You were both like winning next turn.
Oh yeah, but that surprised me about that. It was really tight. Yeah, it was really tight. So that was great. Yeah, so I'd just say have a little think when you're building your deck. If you have a ton of Lorcana cards, or if you know that you're going to be playing mostly multiplayer or mostly 2-player, the maths changes. How you evaluate these cards is going to change. So have a little think about that.
But they're good cards in 2-player.
Oh yeah, those are all good cards in 2-player as well at the moment. I don't think any of
It
those
surprised me how important and good those cards are.
Yeah,
actually.
no, it is.
Yeah.
It's really good.
But even better in multiplayer. Yeah. Okay, what's your next thing you want to say about multiplayer?
I get more point. Well, the next point is one that I live by this when I play multiplayer other games, and that is, if a job's worth doing, it's worth finding someone else to do it for you. There's a hell of a lot of politics, especially around removing problem cards. And I will wait till the last possible moment. I don't want to spend a card. Let's say I'm dragon firing a problematic character card. So somebody else has played a character that's super problematic. They've played their 7-cost Aladdin, and they're about to have an 8 lore swing on their turn. I could play my dragon fire and get rid of it, but then I'll be down a card, and they'll be down a card. And the other players, the 3rd and 4th and 5th player, if you choose to play more than 4-player, those other players, they haven't had to do anything. So I'd often kind of just say, oh, that's a problem. Has anybody got a way of dealing with that? And maybe another player will pipe up and say, oh, don't worry, I've got Dragonfire in my hand. And I'll be like, oh, great, can you use that on your turn? I won't challenge your characters this turn. I wasn't challenging their characters anyway. Anyway, so that's a way that you can just politic slightly and have kind of little conversations with your other players to make sure that you're using their cards where possible, and that those things are advantaging you more than them.
Cheeky.
Super cheeky, but also super fun. And also, you know what? It's fun to do. And it's fun when you see somebody else doing it and you call them out on it. You're like, what are you doing, mate? Just do that yourself. So, yeah, I like that little bit of banter back and forth.
I enjoy multiplayer trading card games. I've really enjoyed multiplayer Lorcana, but other ones as well. And multiplayer was really my entry point into trading card games. And I feel like they're more relaxed because they're social.
Yeah.
But also this politics thing means the game is less... There's still about the maths, especially in Lorcana, there's maths.
Yeah.
but it's less about the maths, especially in the early game. You kind of just do your thing.
Yeah,
Let
yeah,
your
yeah.
deck do its thing for a bit because everyone's doing their thing, and just chill a bit. I find them more relaxed.
Yeah.
Whereas in a 1-to-1, head-to-head, it just feels much more intense, and like every turn you're doing some maths. Whereas in multiplayer, you're just thinking, what's the biggest threat around the board, and do I need to deal with it? That's like the only questions in my head,
Yeah,
rather
yeah.
than doing all the maths.
And also, in two-player games, you can lose a game after having done everything right.
Yeah.
And you can look back on that game and go, oh, you know what? I did everything right. It was just bad luck. I just had bad draws or sequenced badly, or they're a better player than I am. That's fine, whatever.
Yeah.
But in a multiplayer game, often you'll end up losing because somebody else did something that was particularly advantageous to a third player.
Yeah.
Or they
disadvantageous to you. Yeah.
yeah, or just the way that it happened is that, yeah. And you're only expecting, say you're playing in a 4-player pod of Lorcana, so you're playing you and 3 opponents. In that case, you're only expecting to win about a quarter of the time anyway.
Yeah.
So most of the time you will be going, oh, you know what? Doesn't matter. It's fine. So it does lead to casual play. And that's, I guess, I think generally multiplayer favours casual play. It's more fun as a casual format.
Yeah. It felt like when we started talking about Lorcana, oh, that's nice. They've kind of tacked on a multiplayer. They've thought about it a little bit. But actually, it almost feels like the heart of the game in terms of it being a family game.
Yeah.
It is the yes, it works. It's a brilliant game 1v1, but equally it's an excellent game just to chill out and play with more than one player, play with multiple players. The other thing I'd say about multiple player in relation to that and to it being casual is like the power level of decks. So if you're playing 1v1 and your deck you've got all the best cards,
Yeah.
and I've got some average cards,
Yeah.
you're going to win way, way more. And that's not going to be fun for me if that's just how we play all the time.
Yeah.
Whereas in a multiplayer game, it balances a bit, because if someone's getting ahead because they've got a better deck, the other players can work together to deal with that person. So it balances the game a bit more as well.
Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't play multiplayer competitively.
Yeah.
And there are lots of
Of course
people.
you should be competitive.
Well,
I
I
play
mean-
to win.
Oh yeah, well, you still to play to win, whether you're playing a kind of casual for fun. This is
Yeah,
fun,
yeah.
But I'm not saying that there shouldn't be multiplayer tournaments. I'm just saying that there are difficulties with that kind of thing. In that sometimes king making will occur. In that a third player can't win themselves, but their actions are either going to are either going to be advantageous to one player or to another player, at which point that player's kind of going to win. It can be quite frustrating to play at a super high level if you don't understand those limitations. And I'd say that's what we see in Magic the Gathering. We play multiplayer Commander and competitive Commander. Great, loads of people love playing competitive, or CEDH as they call it, competitive EDH. But there's also that frustration of it's not always a perfect thing, because sometimes one player can take actions that will be more advantageous to one player than another player.
But that's also interesting of then the whole story of your play group.
Oh yeah, and it's interesting.
Because things can carry over. Like, you did that to me last time, or you broke that agreement, so I'm not trusting you this game.
So I think that most competitive players would see that you'd never do that. You'd never favour one person over another because of a previous game. Like, that's a big no-no to them in that community. I'm not part of that community. I don't know. That's just what I've seen online.
But I'm not necessarily saying it's like a resentment thing or something like that. It's just, or someone lost and you help them.
You know
make
what?
sure
Yeah,
they don't have such a bad game the next time.
in our casual group,
Yeah.
if we've knocked somebody out super early in one game, we're not going to do the same thing the following game.
No.
And if somebody's won 2 games in a row, you bet they're not winning the third time. It's arch enemy then. Amazing. Was there anything else you wanted to cover on the multiplayer side of things?
I think this is a point that you've put in the notes, but I hope you don't mind me saying it, that it's a really fun, because power level doesn't matter so much, it's a really fun place to experiment and just try out different decks or build one because you like. I think you should do that anyway, but especially multiplayer. just show off the card that you've opened in the booster pack that you're really proud that you got.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's a really good place for those kind of theme decks of, oh, hey, everybody, let's all show each other our cool cardboard. And
My
it's a great
shinies.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super fun for that. Brilliant. Okay. Well, I think we're going to leave it there.
Almost.
Oh, hello.
I've got a... You sometimes surprise me with something, so I've got a surprise for you, Simeon.
David's got a surprise for me. I'm excited.
My-
It's in his
My
pocket.
pocket's rustling. I don't know if that's coming through the microphone. It's a little thing.
What is this?
So I was away a couple of weeks ago and found somewhere selling some Disney things. So
This is it says Disney Lounge Fly. Oh, this is not a cheap present. I'm loving this. It's a little black box and it says 6+. So I probably should have
are you old
supervision.
enough? Are you old enough?
I need supervision, you know that. Amazing. Let's open it, see what we got. Oh, inside. Oh my goodness. It's my favorite kind of gift. Inside
Oh,
is
can you do that in the microphone? Because I love that sound.
inside
favourite
is
kind of
a
sound.
little sealed bag. It's opaque and black. And it has a little pull tab. It's open.
I'm excited to see what this is. Which one
It's
have
a
you got?
little Stitch.
Oh, amazing!
So I have a little Stitch pin. I will take a photo. I'll post it on the social medias. That is beautiful. Thank you very much, David.
Oh, you're very welcome. I didn't know it would turn out to be Stitch. I was hoping it would.
That's beautiful.
So Moana, who featured on a previous podcast, also
Yes.
got one. And she was super lucky because she opened Angel, which is the pink Stitch.
Pink Stitch. Amazing. Oh, yes. Oh, I can see on the back. There's
Whereas
some,
I opened the ukulele. I was like,
I was going to say, on the back, there's the different pictures of the pins you can open. And there's Stitch, beautiful. Stitch's face, beautiful. The two of them together, eating an ice
Stitch
cream.
and Angel or Stitch,
Stitch and Angel, eating an ice cream together. There's Angel's face, all of these cool things.
Yeah.
Now, I like a ukulele as much as the next person, but there's also a ukulele pin that's just a ukulele. And you wouldn't know it was Stitch's ukulele. Like, yeah, we are a little bit disappointed.
It's like the common card that no one wants. with stampedes or something like that.
It's the coconut basket of the...
Coconut basket's good. That was your call out as the best card of the set, like way back when.
No, I still think that's going to work. Coconut meta's going to come back round.
Coconuts.
Thank you very much, David. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Amazing.
You're
We
very
haven't
welcome.
got any listener questions this week, but if you do want to send us a listener question, where would you do that, David?
Go on to Apple Podcasts and put it in a review.
That's a really good thing. If you don't want to do that, or don't have Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or you're watching this on YouTube, put in a comment. You can hit us up on Twitter, also
X.
known as X.
I think it's meant to be X, formerly known as Twitter, but
No one's calling it like, oh my goodness. You know what? By the time this podcast goes out, might not even still exist. Anyway, so yes, we are at Lorcana Podcast on social media. We're there. We're also on TikTok. You can leave us a question there as well, or you can email lorcanapodcast@gmail.com.
and both of us will see that if you do.
Yes, if you want to support our show, we don't want your money. We would like you to review the show, hit like, hit all of the buttons, but also tell your friends. We are trying to grow our listeners. At the moment, we just passed 500 listeners an episode. I'm super excited.
Wow.
This is a small podcast, and we'd like it to grow. So that's our primary objective at the moment.
Cool. Exciting times.
All right, see you next time.
Bye-bye.